Thank you so much, Freya. So very good morning to all of you joining from Europe. Good afternoon to all of you joining from Asia, and good evening already in Australia and New Zealand. So warm welcome to all of you to the first session of the knowledge building phase of the ASEFYLS capacity building trainings in 2024. My name is Réka Tózsa. I'm the education director here at the Asia Europe Foundation, and my pleasure to host our session today. So today's session is going to be 2 hours long, at least that's the time frame that we are planning for. And we will use this time to welcome you on board from ASEF, and also there will be welcome remarks delivered by our partners and co-organizers. Then we use this time also to introduce you to ASEF, to those of you who are not familiar with our foundation yet, and to the program, like what can you expect in the next 6 months in this leadership training program. Then also today, to get up to speed, we invited 2 wonderful keynote speakers who will be already sharing some insights and inspirational thoughts with you on our topic, Leadership in Society 5.0. And at the end of the session, we will have a bit of time to reflect on their messages and warm up and start with the introduction and some breakout room discussions. So let's get started. First with introductions and warm welcome remarks from the ASEF team. You see us on the screen, on the PPT and live as well. My pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Freya Chapar, who is our youth project lead, and Ms. Linnea Regner, project executive of the youth projects. You must be familiar with their name by now because they've been already corresponding with you on several matters. And I will give them the floor to introduce themselves and welcome you in a second. But from my side, I just want to share that I'm very, very proud of being able to kick off this youth leadership program this year. We've been working in this field since 2015. And with this program, we do a 2-year cycle. In 1 year, we organize a youth leadership summit. And then in the other 2nd year, we organize capacity building trainings. And we were very happy to see the huge interest in this program this year. And I was very happy to read through all the profiles of the participants, and I was humbled what a diverse and great cohort we have selected for this program here. Because you come from many different areas, you lead students and youth organizations in different areas of work. You read them on different levels. Some of you are working at grassroots level, but many of you even country or regional level. And you also come from very diverse countries. We will speak a little bit more about the cohort later, but for now I can share that this cohort, you represent 55 different countries in this program. So it's a great diversity that will offer a lot of opportunities for exchange, for learning each other, and also do more for the communities. So I'm really happy and humbled and look forward to this program. And now let me invite Freya and Linnea to welcome you as well.
Thank you, Réka. So yeah, you're very familiar with our names. You've received a lot of emails from us already, and you will continue receiving a lot of emails. We hope you don't get too tired of it. But it's so nice to finally meet you all, at least online and soon in Hungary and in China. My name is Freya. I'm the youth project lead here at ASEF. I'm a British national, but I have some Singaporean heritage as well, so a nice Asia-Europe mix. I've been at ASEF now for 5 years working on the youth projects. So I've run a couple of editions, always slightly different style, always different formats with brilliant cohorts of youth participants each time. So I'm really excited to get to know you all and to be able to bring you all together throughout this program. Hand over to Linnea.
It's a very hard act to follow. Hello, everyone. My name is Linnea, and I work together with Freya within the youth sector of the education department. I'm coming up on 1 year within ASEF, so I'm happy to be able to, for the first time, be able to follow an edition of the Young Leaders Summit from beginning to end, as I entered a bit towards the end of the last year's edition. I'm originally from Sweden, but moved here when I started with ASEF, almost a year ago. And as I mentioned, really excited to meet you all online, but also soon to meet you in person as well, and to engage with you in interesting discussions and to see the impact that you can have through this program within your local communities.
Thank you so much. So we look forward working with you from ASEF, but of course we are not running this program alone. We are very lucky to have excellent partners this year as well. And I will invite them to welcome you, our cohorts as well. So first, Ida Kreitzmann. She's representing Council of Europe. She's an educational advisor at the Youth Department of Council of Europe. She's based in Budapest, Hungary, in the European Youth Center, where she engages directly with young people through non-formal education. And before joining the council, Ida was also an active student and youth movement representative and contributed to the scene in different ways. And we are very happy to work with Council of Europe in this project. And they're going to be hosting one of our on-site trainings in Budapest in October. So Ida, please.
Hello, thank you so much, Reka. As you can see, I was running a bit around because I'm sitting in a space that has automatic light. So if I don't move, it turns off. But it's my pleasure to say hi also from the side of the Youth Department of the Council of Europe. As Reka was saying, we are one of the partners to this hopefully great project. And I am myself based in Budapest, in the European Youth Center Budapest. But right now, actually, I'm speaking from the European Youth Center Strasbourg, which is a nice coincidence because in the Youth Department of the Council of Europe, we have these two youth centers, which are quite unique in a way because we host in these two youth centers young groups like yourselves. And this is also where one of the events, the Budapest event, will be hosted in the European Youth Center Budapest in one of our unique learning spaces. And without maybe going into too much details about the Council of Europe, I will say that we are a different institution from the European Union. So for those of you who know the European Union, we are not the same, but similar. The Council of Europe geography is a bit bigger, so we have more member states. We are 46 member states in total, so it's quite a big a group of countries. And one of the things that we do in the youth department is this intercultural and international cooperation and intercultural learning between young people. And we bring those groups together in the youth centers. And this is why it's also such a great pleasure for us to be a partner in this event, because of course, in most cases, we work with European groups, so people coming from different European countries. And of course, in this cooperation with ASEF, we have also this beautiful chance to bring together an even more international group, your group, basically. So young people from different regions. And there is one maybe fun fact to share is that because we have in the youth department also worked with this approach for quite some time. I mean, we exist already for 50 years. And we have actually done Asia-Europe partnerships in the past. So I think the last time was, I think it was 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, something like this, where we cooperated actually before and bringing young people together across the regions. These people are not anymore maybe so young, former young people. And it's also why it's really great to, in a way, re-establish this cooperation and to, redo things that were done in the past. And maybe then there was a break of, in this case, for 10 years. So it's really good, I think, to come back in a way to our roots and to do something like this. And I'm looking forward a lot to see half of you in Budapest in the youth center where I work in October. But also, of course, for the rest of the cohort, it's really good to meet you. And yeah, I'm looking forward also to hear more about, I've seen your profiles, but I'm looking forward also to learn more from you on the topic as well. And to see also, all of the different things that you will bring, because of course, one of the beauties of this kind of events is also, or the main beauty is probably all the knowledge that you will bring and all the perspectives that you will bring coming from different places and from different paths of life. And this, I think, is why we also do this kind of things to bring it together and to learn from each other. So it's good to meet you all, and I wish you a really successful webinar. I will slowly leave you, so I will not stay for too long, but I'm really happy to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ida. We look forward to our joint work really very much and hope to create something great again after a decade. You did a really great job because the lights didn't turn off, so you moved. Thank you so much. And then let me invite the representative of the other partner organization we are working with this year, All China Youth Federation, Ms. James Yue. She's the Deputy Director of the International Department at All China Youth Federation, and she has been working for 9 years in the International Department of ACYF, focusing on promoting international youth exchanges and building partnerships with international organizations and youth organizations as well. And ACYS have been working on a platform to pull together the strengths of youth around the world and to promote the SDGs since 2022. And Ms. Zheng Yue was an instrumental part of it, as she was the lead of the liaison team, and she was in charge of delegates at the World Youth Development Forum. And they organized already 2 editions in 2022 and 2023. And this year, we are lucky to be invited to co-organize with them a side event of the World Youth Development Forum. This is going to be the other capacity building training in August in China. The floor is over to you. For welcoming us.
Okay. Thanks, Reka, for your introduction. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. It's my pleasure to join this online meeting on behalf of All China Youth Federation. We are the partner for this capacity building program. So first of all, I'd like to introduce a bit about ASEFYL. The All China Youth Federation is a national umbrella youth organization in China for major Chinese youth groups. So we reach in young Chinese people with branches in all provinces, municipalities, and over 300 cities. We are the coordinating agency for governmental youth affairs and implementer of youth policies in China. At the same time, we are also maintaining connections and cooperations with many international organizations. So this year, All China Youth Federation and Asia-Europe Foundation will co-host the Asia-Europe Young Leaders Campus in August in China. It is under the framework of the capacity building programs. At the same time, it will also be part of our 2024 World Youth Development Forum. So I'd like to introduce the forum. This forum is responding to President Xi Jinping's proposal. So we initiated this forum, supported by UN agencies and youth institutions in various countries. We have successfully organized it for twice in 2022 and 2023. We've invited over 400 participants to join this forum. So this year, we are also expecting for your participation. This year's forum, we will invite over 300 foreign participants to join this forum. And during the forum, we'll also host the youth pre-meeting for the Summit of the Future. And we will also launch the open call for the second round of excellence programs to join the action plan for global youth development. It is a platform which will support young people whenever you are to carry out innovative programs for the SDGs and global development initiatives. And after the activities in Beijing, we will invite you to join the thematic forum for youth development-oriented cities, which we think is also closely connected to the theme of our capacity building programs. And we will have many other activities in Hangzhou, which is a very beautiful city. So basically, that's limited to the time, limited by the time. This is all for my sharing. I hope this program would be a great success and everyone could benefit from it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in person in China.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we also look forward to see with half of this cohort, see you soon in China. Thank you so much. And with that, let us move to the introduction of ASEF and the program itself. No, before that, we'll take a group photo, very important. So please get ready to smile. I will stop sharing my screen. And then I give it over to Freya and Linnea to instruct us how to take this group photo.
Yes. So get your best smiles ready. We'll take a couple of shots so we can get all the pages also. So if I find my mouse again on my screen, there we go. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. And let me do one more. 2, 3, okay. And page 2, 1, 2, 3, smile. Lovely. And one more, so we don't miss anyone. Last time, 1, 2, 3, and and smile. Lovely. Thanks, Reka. Back to you.
Okay, excellent. Look forward to seeing the photos soon on social media. Okay, sharing back the screen and then moving on. So introductions to ASEF and the program itself. So what you need to know about the Asia Europe Foundation is that we are 27 years old, celebrating 28 soon, and we are an intergovernmental organization. That means we have member countries, 51 member countries, and also 2 organizations, the European Union and the ASEAN Secretariat are members of ASEF. So these member states entrusted us with a mission to facilitate bi-regional knowledge exchange and the dialogue on issues that are high on the agenda of both continents. So we work a lot with civil society members on research projects, intellectual exchange dialogues, and of course, peer-to-peer exchange projects to gather inputs and inform governmental dialogues as well. We are funded by the voluntary contributions of these members. And ASEF does work in different thematic areas. Education is just being one of them. The foundation itself is also active in culture, public health, media, sustainable development, economy, and governance. So if any of you have an interest in any of these fields, then please follow ASEF. And there are always opportunities coming up to join other thematic areas as well. But we are today from the education department, and we are running an education project. In the education department, our main mission is to work with 3 different target groups. We work a lot with young people and young leaders such as yourself, but we also work with teachers and educators from secondary school, and we also focus on higher education leaders and policymakers to create system-level impact in the field of education as well. We are active in the non-formal, informal field of education, so we facilitate knowledge exchange, policy dialogues, and capacity buildings, and sometimes we also publish research where we are mapping certain topics across our countries. And with all of these activities, we contribute to the SDGs and the UN Agenda of 2030, which is very close to our mission and our heart. So about the Young Leaders Program, we started this in 2015, and that's a biannual project. In the first year, we organize a youth summit, usually taking place next to bigger meetings. The last one we organized in 2023 in Spain, hosted by University of Salamanca. And the next one, the 6th Young Leaders Summit, will take place in Japan next to the World Expo. We are working together with 3 Japanese universities to organize that edition. And then in between the summits, we organize capacity building trainings, such as this year. And we always make sure that there's a balanced opportunities in Asia and Europe. So that's why also this year we organize one in China and one in Hungary. The objectives of the program and what we are trying to do here is really to build leadership capacity for young people from both regions, and through that promote intercultural understanding between Asia and Europe. And it's also one of our key goals to promote multiplier outreach activities and skill building and reach a broader audience than just the cohort that we are inviting to participate in this program. So let's focus on this edition, capacity buildings in 2024, and the participants who we selected. So we would like to share that we received over 4,000 applications for this project. But because our resources and time is scarce, we could only invite 80 young youth and student organization leaders from 55 countries to join this project. But this group is very diverse when it comes to gender or occupations or backgrounds, which you will find out yourself soon throughout the program as well. You are joining this program across 12 different time zones, which is logistically sometimes a bit challenging. So please pay careful attention throughout the events and the activities, and help us to translate the time zones correctly. And at this point, I would like to also emphasize that 80 of you who can participate in this program, it's a great opportunity for you, for learning, for sharing with each other, and for creating a bigger impact in your community. And we really count on you that you take the most out of this program through active participation, through active listening and through active sharing with your peers and others. And I would like to also stress that it's not only an opportunity for you, but also a responsibility. And we really count on you that you take this seriously and you appreciate the resources that are going to you, and then you commit to share it further, pay it forward to your organizations, to your communities, or whatever level you're active at, paying forward what you gain from this program. The program is designed like that. We'll talk about it in a second, about the third phase, the action phase and the multiplier phase. But here at this point, I just wanted to emphasize that I hope that through this element, we can also reach out to the other 4,200 plus applicants who couldn't get the chance to participate, but hopefully with your help, can still benefit from this program. About the topic, Leadership and Society 5.0, we started to work with this topic since last year, and it's so rich and so promising that we decided to keep it for this year in agreement with our partners. So it has two key components: the leadership element. In this program, we want to explore what does it mean to be a global leader in an interconnected world, and how should one navigate between diverse and competing values and expectations. So all of you bring a variety of leadership experiences with yourself to this program. So we count on you sharing these with each other, your leadership dilemmas, how you imagine yourself preparing for future challenges, and what kind of values would you like to see in the future. The other component of this project is Society 5.0. This is actually a Japanese concept, and you can read the exact definition on the screen. It says it's a human-centered society that balances economic advancement with the resolution of social problems by a system that highly integrates cyberspace and physical space. So this idea really came from the consideration of the 4 different stages of the society that we know by now. So currently, literature says we are in Society 4.0, or in other words, this is the informational knowledge society that we are currently in. Before that, it was the industrial, and before that, it was the agricultural, and before that, first stage was the hunting-gathering society. And nowadays, we see that there's so much change going on, especially with advanced technology, like AI coming to our everyday life, but also biotechnology, cyber technology, quantum technology are all technical solutions that indicate that perhaps our life will change in the next upcoming phase of society. And we don't exactly know how these technologies will influence how we work, live, and play, but we can expect that it's going to be something entirely different. And that's what the Japanese label with the term Society 5.0, the next stage of society where physical and cyberspace comes together. But we don't know how that will look like. We wish that it's a more ethical, it's a more inclusive, and a more sustainable society. But in order to make sure that these values are upheld in this next stage of society, we need to start thinking about them now and thinking what kind of leadership is needed to realize such a society. So this is our overarching topic, and we dedicated the knowledge building phase, these 4 weeks of online preparation, to explore this theme. Here you can see the 3 stages of the program. This knowledge building phase starts now, today, and will stretch through July with 5 different sessions. And that each session, we will invite thought leaders in the areas who will share their different insights and wishes for Society 5.0. And then in the next stage, in phase 2, you will bring all of this knowledge with you to the on-site trainings. So half of the cohort will go to China to meet each other, and the other half in Hungary to meet each other in October. And then after the on-site in-person training, we will embark to the multiplier phase, the action phase, where we will request all of you to design activities in your own communities, in your own organizations that can benefit others as well and multiply the effects of the project. So just a quick zoom in to each phase. In the knowledge building phase, these are the 5 sessions. please make sure you save the date in your calendar already. Today, at the opening session, we will explore the entire concept of Leadership in Society 5.0 with our keynote speakers. And then at the subsequent sessions, we will zoom into the 3 values, and we will see how an ethical society can look like, an inclusive society 5.0, a sustainable society 5.0 would look like, and how we want it to look like. And then we dedicate the last session to personal and team leadership skill building activities. Then after the knowledge building phase, we will venture to the in-person on-site training phase, where the learning and the knowledge building will still continue, but these activities, the trainings themselves, will be more interactive and more focusing on exchange, you learning from each other. At this point, let me pause and also show you who the trainers are going to be at the on-site phase. We selected these colleagues through an open call of applications, and there's a perfect Asia-Europe and perfect gender balance. They will be joining the Hungary and the China training as well, and you will be able to read their bios on the e-learning platform soon. And then the third phase, the action phase, which is a very important part of the program, because here we rely on you to organize activities in your communities for the benefit of more students and more young people, and to disseminate the knowledge that you gain through this program and also the network in various ways that you think make sense for your context. This will be assisted by us throughout. So for now, I won't go into details, just want to emphasize that this is a key element of the program, and we count on you in making this happen. So with that, I stop explaining the program. If you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat, and then we will try to give some replies in writing on the go. But at the end of this session, we will also have time for Q&A to ask your overarching questions related to the program. So throughout the knowledge building phase, we will ask you to keep a journal to track your learning, your key takeaways from these webinars. And we will always pose the same 3 questions to you at the beginning of each of such session. What are the 3 things that you learned today about Leadership in Society 5.0? How could you apply this learning in your own context? And what questions do you still have after listening to the experts and keynote speakers? What are the areas you want to learn more and further explore? So we are hoping that you can always take notes on these 3 points after each webinar, and then also share it with each other through the different platforms. We will have an e-learning platform and a Slack platform, and then also bring these reflections with you to the on-site training and use them throughout as you go through the 4 or 5 days trainings. And with that, I stop here now, and I will invite Linnea to introduce our first keynote speaker and then moderate the Q&A afterwards.
Thank you so much. So with that, we will go over to our first keynote of today with our speaker, Karsten Beck. So Karsten Beck is the director and futurist at the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. He has been working with trend analysis and scenario processes at the Institute for more than 30 years in more than 30 countries. So he's almost at the 55 that we're currently covering. He's head of presentations and keynotes at the Institute, and with an extensive experience as a presenter from doing more than 1,000 presentations globally during his professional life, spanning from global conferences to smaller groups in all types of organizations. The themes Karsten has been working with all relate to how global and local trends shape the future for organizations, companies, and societies. Karsten has done scenario processes in retail, HR, finance, business-to-business, governments, and NGOs. His key priority is how to drive processes for clients in order for them to prepare for the future. These clients include organizations in global retail, governments, industrial conglomerates, cultural organizations, rock festivals, tourist organizations, and transport industry, IT, and more. With a Master of Science in Political Economy from Copenhagen University, he joined the Institute back in 1990. So that's a quick summary of the vast background and extensive experience that Karsten has. And with that being said, and with that introduction, I hand over to Karsten for his presentation.
Hi, thank you, Linnea, and hi, everybody. Great to be here. I will just start out by sharing my screen. And Linnea, could you tell me if you can see my screen now?
Yes, we can see it perfectly.
Very good. And thank you so much for giving ASEFYLS and myself this opportunity to start out this fantastic program. The great diversity when it comes to nations. I'm so impressed. 55 nations, that is rarely seen even in global programs. So congratulations with that. Also, just building on some of the stuff that Reka and Freya mentioned in the introduction. We at ASEFYLS, we see leadership being challenged right now across our nations and across the world, because we have so much going on. I mean, futurists always say that the world is changing fast, and we need to prepare for a number of different scenarios. But I would imagine, even from all the perspectives of the participants in this program, we actually do see here in 2024 more changes than almost ever before. So what are the visions? What are the hopes? How do we deal with competing headlines and how do we compare values and norms that might not interact as easily as they used to a couple of generations ago? So I think this is a wonderful program. This is a wonderful opportunity for all of us. So thank you so much for inviting ASEFYLS. I will talk a little bit about ASEFYLS to begin with, and then I will move on to talk about some of the key trends that we see as important at ASEFYLS when we look at leadership going forward in all our societies. As was mentioned in the beginning, in the introduction, sorry, by Linnea. And once again, thank you. My name is Karsten. I'm working at the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies. That is ASEFYLS, basically. We're a think tank, 50 years plus old, founded by the gentleman you can see in the picture to the left in your screen, not John F. Kennedy, but the other gentleman, Thorkild Christensen, who used to be General Secretary of the OECD. We're 40 people working with foresight here at the Institute. We work globally, as was mentioned as well. And then I would actually just like to point to one word here as well, because it was mentioned in introductions that diversity is very critical and very, very important. And we would say exactly the same when it comes to having foresight capabilities and having futures literacy, that the number of diverse voices to us is super critical. So actually, when you have discussions about what should our future society or the future of our organizations look like, I would say the first thing that leaders need to do in the future is basically to shut up and look around the table. And it could be a digital table like today, it could be a physical table like later in the program, and trying to observe and reflect upon who's actually sitting at the table. It's one thing to have leaders or potential leaders sitting there, but how can we make sure that the voices of what I often call the many people of our societies are heard in discussions about the future? That to me is a key focus area. This is also why we at ASEFYLS work together with the United Nations and especially with UNESCO on futures literacy programs. And we also have a program where we partake called Teach the Future, where we try to give voices to especially young people and probably people younger than the participants here today in this conference call, in order to make their voices heard in the societal debates about the future of our countries. So diversity and interdisciplinarity, very important. The background, Linnea, you were kind enough to mention it. It's all kinds of companies and organizations, public and private, NGOs, unions, big brands, United Nations, OECD, World Economic Forum, Asian Development Bank. It really goes across all kinds of sectors. And what we do in these futures processes together with our partners is not so much predict. I'll get back to that, because sometimes the leaders, they tend to think that, okay, when you have a challenge, it's often a challenge that is phrased in terms related to the future, and thus it becomes super tempting to say, oh, but if we just could predict. I think, Rekha, you mentioned AI and all the new technologies emerging, quantum computing and all of that. So if we just could predict the future, that would be super, super nice. And to my experience and to the experience of SIFs, that's simply not possible. So that's also why we tend to focus on big change drivers and trends, having open discussions, explorative discussions about where will they take our societies, where will they take our organizations, and we are actually treasuring the learning process, and I'll get back to that. So let's begin. And we have sort of 15 minutes. Linnea, could you please stop me if I run too much over time? I'll try to keep track myself, but just tell me to shut up if it's too critical. So first of all, change is happening all across the world, and it has been happening at all ages. Now, I'm probably the oldest person here in this conference call, so I can almost remember when Kit Galloway and Sherry Rabinowitz in the US, they made this piece of art. It was an installation, and it was this piece of art where you had a screen in Los Angeles, you had another screen in New York, and you could actually, in real time, with a video feed, see people from across the country. There was sound, it was black and white, but it was in real time. So in my life, I have experienced a world where the interconnectedness and the network effects globally simply were almost non-existent, and where we had solutions back then that were perceived as cutting edge, as art installations, which is now absolutely everyday life. So this is also why when we talk to leaders about the future, we actually often start by having them just examine what are the changes that have influenced our societies over the past couple of years, and what is it that has really rocked the boat of your organizations and your countries in the last couple of decades or years, and then using that kind of mindset in order to foster a discussion about what could happen going forward. And for us, it really is about learning. It really is about treasuring the process. And I know that sounds a little bit fluffy, and it's okay to think that. However, we do see time and time again that leaders, they fall into this sort of expert trap, you could say, where we, in the beginning of any kind of process, any kind of program, start too early to look for answers, instead of trying to understand what is it actually, what kind of question is it actually that we would like to pose in our process going forward, which is also why I like the Society 5.0 concept so much, because it is actually saying that we need to focus on new ways of discussing the future, maybe new ways of measuring trends, new ways of measuring quality of life, new ways of measuring our societies, and staying in that zone for us as leaders, talking and discussing the future is super important. So treasuring the learning process, don't jump to conclusions. Secondly, we of course would emphasize and would encourage everybody to use all the data at hand. So there will be tools and techniques, and AI will certainly help us support data streams about present and important trends for all our organizations and societies. So when we meet, if we meet 10 years from now, I'm sure that the data streams that are supporting your change processes and foresight processes will be at a much higher level of quality and much faster and probably also in real time. So the data quality will be better. That's important. However, to everybody here on this conference call, we still believe at ASEFYLS that even with better data, you still need to have imagination, you still need to have speculation, you still need to have creativity, and you still need to have people in your organization asking these what if questions. So the sweet spot when you immerse yourself in futures thinking and foresight processes is actually looking at the data and at the same time keeping an open mind for these weak signals, these creative inputs. And I know it sounds super easy, and I guess a lot of you are thinking right now, okay, but we do that already. In my experience, however, what I often see is either when you have foresight processes, either if you look at the participants, either the participants, they have a mindset more to the left on this picture or more to the right. And it's difficult to have these conversations that overlap, but we still think it's super important. Another critical issue for dealing with change and the future is actually to, of course, look at all the biases and basically just reading Tversky and Kahneman and thinking about what kind of biases might be inherent and ingrained into our process and try to work your way around them. One thing I would like to emphasize here in 2024 is actually that we see a lot of polarization in futures discussion and debates. Now I've just taken a headline or a silly picture from The Economist, and it's about AI, where the thing is actually when you look at a lot of the trends could be technological, could be geopolitical, could be about values and norms, could be about people. There is a tendency right now in our societies, at least on a societal level, maybe not in the concrete process, but on a societal level, to say either everything will be fine. So it's sort of to the left in this picture, or everything will be super bad and it will all fall apart and it will be sort of hell on earth in the future. In our experience, for any kind of trend, it will be a mixture. And I'm not saying that extreme scenarios are very bad for you guys, and it could certainly foster new thinking, absolutely. But I would also urge all of us to sort of reframe and rethink our positions, because any kind of trend will have good and bad side effects. So keeping a broad perspective we see as super important. Now I'm just going to share with you a few slides on trends as we see the world, and they are supposed to be global in outreach, but of course there's no guarantees as we are a very diverse crowd here today. But we do tend to have foresight processes where we start out by looking at, from a leadership perspective, in this case, what do we see as key global megatrends that will affect the future of our societies. So it could be people and society, it could be norms and values, empowerment, diversity, it could be political and economical perspectives like you see in the upper part of this slide, and certainly there will be lots and lots of technological developments as well. Not all global megatrends will be relevant in all your projects and processes going forward, but taking this as a starting point, we see as very important. I would also urge you to another reflection I've had over the last couple of years. I would urge you to look at trends that you might find, how can I say it, almost boring. because we talk so much about them. For me, something like demographics, so population growth and decline and the aging of our societies. I mean, we all know that our the societies are aging, and we see declining fertility levels across the globe. So for young leaders going forward, one question I would like to pose to you is simply the fact that you will be leaders and you will be heading organizations and processes and projects in a world that is going to be increasingly gray and white-haired, so an older society. And what does that mean for Society 5.0? What does that mean for the goals and the aspirations we have as a society? And once again, it's a little bit back to the data-driven approach to futures studies, because aging and the same goes for the other trends, climate change and network economy and platforms and economic growth in many of our countries in Asia and also partly in Europe. But what kind of implications do we see of trends we know? I would also urge you to, in these processes, whenever someone comes out and says a trend is very, very certain, and I'm actually saying that with these global megatrends, I would urge all of you to challenge me and challenge me quite strongly, because obviously some of these trends might change and they might have a different outlook going forward. And just to bring one of these trends to the table here, where we have huge discussions with our global client base and partnership base, is the trend globalization. If we had met 10 years ago or 15 years ago, I would have said, when we look at the globalization indexes, which are being formulated by academic institutions around the globe, I would say we're living in a global world, and we will globalize in all kinds of dimensions going forward. But here in 2024, I'm not so sure. Which is why I'm doubly happy that you have this program and you're actually trying to support globalization and international outreach. But could we envision a world where globalization is stopping and maybe even starting to decline on a number of parameters? Absolutely. And once again, what kind of society would that be for all of us? Just three more slides, and then I'm done. And I thank you so much for listening and participating. The thing about diversity, as was mentioned in the beginning, we see that at ASEFYLS as well. I just brought with me one data stream here. This is from the World Value Survey from Holland. This organization that measures and tracks norms and values across the globe. And there's lots and lots of data there, and you can go explore it for yourself. It's free of charge, so you can download the data sets, and some of you might even know it. But basically, and this is just one data set here, basically what we're seeing right now is that we can cluster all our countries and regions of the world, and the different regions of the world, when you look into values and norms, they are not necessarily moving in the same direction. I am, of course, not suggesting here that there's a right direction or a wrong direction in any form or format. Absolutely not. But I am saying that when we look at these data points, we are actually getting a little bit more heterogeneous. And then the second to last slide. When you look to the future, when you look to technology or any kind of other trend going forward, always remember the many people. Always remember all the people relating that are partaking in any kind of work in your organization or indeed in your country. And basically, when we talk to people about the future, right now we see three reactions. We see a reaction that is based on fear and lack of stability, that is people oriented towards the past. So we see a lot of that right now, and I think you as leaders will need to challenge that going forward. But we do see in all our countries almost a lot of people feeling less safe about the future, so they are looking for safety and security. Then we see a lot of people who don't care about the future. That's the people in the middle. And basically, they just want a better life. Quality of life should increase ±5%, but they are not scared about the future, but they are not really interested. So getting these people into the conversation is actually super tricky. And then finally, we fortunately have a big group of people, you guys, lots of other young people, and also people of my age that are oriented towards the future, that wants to change the future. But what I'm trying to say here with this slide is, remember when you do your projects, remember when you go forward with whatever kind of process you're doing, that you will probably be met with all these 3 types of reaction. And then finally, the last slide, and this is just a tool that maybe you can use in your processes going forward. When you have these discussions and you are leading a team of people in your organizations about the future, one way of structuring the discussions that we really like is this Futures Triangle created by Inyatullah Sohail, and which we also use here at ASEFYLS. And it's basically saying, when you discuss the future, look at the trends from today, that's the push of the present. Look at the pull from the future, that's where this data becomes weak, but you think there's something going on that could be important for your topics that are being discussed in your process. And then finally, also remember, looking into your societies, looking into your organizations, what is it that we want to keep? What kind of deep structures are maybe resisting change, but what kinds of values and norms and forms of stability would we actually like to bring into the future? So these 3 dimensions is a wonderful way of starting discussions about the future. So with that said, and you will get all the slides, I will stop sharing and opening the floor for discussions, Linnea, I think. But over to you, Linnea.
Thank you so much, Carsten, for that presentation. Very interesting, the work that you do within the institution, but also the concept in which you present here for everyone to think about. So as Freya put in the chat, we now open up for a Q&A. So you can either do what Kirill has already done and raise your hand, or to put the question in the chat and we'll read it out for everyone. So I will already invite Kirill to then ask his question to Carsten.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karel from the Estonian National Youth Council. Wonderful to hear what you had to say. And I actually come back to the beginning of the presentation where you said that young leaders, well, maybe not young leaders, but leaders in general should learn how to stay quiet and actually listen to other people. And I totally agree with you in a way that I try to be the last one speaking behind the table at my team. Otherwise, other people, might be influenced on what I have to say. But also working with you, the terrible problem is that you can be quiet and sometimes everyone else is quiet. So I don't know if there's a good proposal from you, putting you in a hard position, but how to get people speaking who are not used to speaking or being active. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Wonderful question, and not easy. I've made so many mistakes with this. One thing in the actual process that is easy to do is simply to have a silent brainstorm, and they take a trip around the table. So that's super simple. I do that all the time. And that forces everybody in a nice way to speak their mind. Another thing could actually be to separate groups. So when you have a process related to the future, that you maybe have 2 groups that are looking at the same questions, working with the same topics, and then they are separated for maybe a couple of hours, a couple of days, a couple of weeks. And then they emerge in the middle of the process, and then they're asked to make these interchanges. But I do agree, and you need to create a safe space here. You need to make sure that it's okay for everybody to speak. Both people that might be a little bit afraid, might be a little bit shy, but also in my mind, super important, and that's the last thing, people that are passive. People that are just thinking, I'm just here for the ride. It's not super important. I think most people are passive when it comes to the future, but they have an equal right to the future, so we need to get them on board. But it's a wonderful question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking your question, and thank you, Carsten, for the answer. Next person in the line, we see Christian. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question to Carsten.
Sure. Thank you very much, Carsten. I really love your presentation, and I like the point that a lot of these trends we're talking about so much to the point where they're almost boring. I would love to know, when you looked into these trends of the future, which one of them surprised you the most? Which trend might all of us be missing if we didn't get to read all of those trends?
Yeah, two things there. First of all, I'm actually I'm an economist. I just need to say to all of you. So that's just the background. I would say I've always been surprised about biotech not taking off in a much more massive way, because I think there's lots and lots of potential every time I talk to that sector. But I think it is stalling a little bit for a number of reasons and at different levels in our country. So that to me is a disappointment. And for me, the one trend that I think we need to emphasize is actually the demographics. I do a lot of presentations. I've been joking for the last 10 years that I'm 56 now. So I'll retire in 10 years and you will take over the world. I've been joking saying that the last conference I will attend as a 66-year-old person will be a conference about there's no young people in the future. And that trend we see right here, right now. So to our delegates from Japan today and South Korea, we see fertility levels, you all know this, that are dropping like a stone. And we see an aging that is going to be crazy important and not necessarily in a good way for all our societies. So for me, that is one of the trends that's boring and we need to pay attention to. And then finally, we need to work together. So the geopolitical and the collaboration and the globalization is very important to me and my heart. Thanks, Christian.
Thank you very much, Carsten.
Thank you, Carsten. Okay, so we have a minute left for questions. So we have Federico here with a question. So I ask you to be quick with it. So quick summary. He disappeared.
No, okay, I'm still here. I just put down my hand. No. Okay, hi, Kirsten. I will be very, very fast. So I'm also an economist, and I'm also coming from Italy. That is a country that is getting very older, like Japan and South Korea. And I'm also an economist. And so we know that sometimes we can predict the future. We can look to some trend, but also like the market, there are some shock that we need to expect a little bit. So talking about the future, do you think that there is some trend in order to expect this shock, or we need to get used to live in a shock dimension for all the rest of our years? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Federico. Wonderful question as well. I would say the problem with shocks is that if you look to the data sets that we talked about, you can actually see a lot of shocks already in the data. My standard example is the Corona epidemic. If you look to World Economic Forum and looked at their global risk reports, it actually said before the Corona crisis emerged that epidemics was a very important risk factor going forward for all our societies, Asian as well as European. So I think, yes, you need to prepare for shocks. You need to be more robust in your approach, absolutely. And then I would say for me, it's very much about complexity. Because when organizations look to the future, maybe you can actually identify potential shocks and actually have a conversation about the implications about these shocks. The only problem is if you have, let's say, 25 candidates for shocks affecting Italy or Denmark or Japan or whatever, that gets super complicated. And I'm actually back to the learning process because one of the things I really treasure when it comes to foresight is trying to dig in and see, okay, what are the relevant questions for our societies going forward? And when we have defined those, maybe it's a little bit easier to have these, at least as mental preparedness for the shocks, because shocks, yeah, there seems to be a lot right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, unfortunately, we don't have more time for questions, but I don't know, Karsten, will you be staying in this call afterwards to sit in on the rest of it?
Sorry, next meeting. So
okay,
sorry.
next meeting. Okay, then we can't ask questions in the chat. But thank you so much for your time. Yes, sorry.
Yeah. And sorry, feel free to reach out. I mean, through ASEF, if there's anything also in the later in the program, just reach out through ASEF or directly. I would be happy to engage in further dialogue.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time and good luck with your next meeting. And to everyone in the call, we now are wrapping up the first keynote speaker and the Q&A, and we will be having a quick break before we go into the next speaker. So we will come back at
about 8 minutes past.
8 minutes.
5:03 here, so in about 8 minutes past, we will come back.
Try not to push it to 10 minutes past. So come up in time so we will have the opportunity to listen to the next speaker. We'll see you then.
See you soon.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We hope you had a good, quick 5-minute break. You are feeling refreshed again. We are very excited to get started with our next keynote speaker, Dr. Kazuo Yano, who is a fellow at Hitachi, which some of you might know is a Japanese multinational that they've actually done a lot of driving work on Society 5.0, but he's also the CEO of the Happiness Planet, which he has been working on towards for enhancing happiness and psychological capital through technologies with his colleagues there. Has a big background in science and the analysis of social big data. Parts of his bio I don't fully understand myself, as I don't have a science background, so I won't try and explain on his behalf, but I'm sure he will go into things a little bit more. But this work, I think, in quantifying happiness and what this looks like for a future of society is very interesting. That's why we brought him on board today. A couple of other things is that his book, The Invisible Hand of Data, was nominated as one of the top 10 business books in Japan in 2014. And he is a fellow of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, where he also received the 2020 IEEE Frederick Phillips Award, as well as numerous other awards as well. So we're very privileged to have him here today. We are looking forward to hearing what he has to say. So get your questions ready. Also put them in the chat. We'll have them ready to ask towards the end of his presentation. Kazuo, over to you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Can you give me the right to share the slides?
Sorry, you should have that now.
Not yet. Oh yeah. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Kazuo Yano, and I've been working for Hitachi, a Japanese company, for 40 years, 40. And early 20 years, I've been working for a semiconductor business. But 20 years ago, Hitachi decided to quit the semiconductor business. That's why I need to start something new. And we discussed a lot, but the data might be the next new thing. And we started to explore the possibility of the data for making business and society better. And I've been working for that in the last 20 years, and in a wide variety of data using finance and industry, transportation, and so on. But also human data is a very important thing. So by using those data, I explored with a lot of distinguished scientists in the world to achieve well-being and productivity of our workers, especially knowledge workers, by using data. And I'd like to share some of the key insight I've gained in the last 20 years just in 20 minutes. But this is, what is well-being, what is good for happy organizations. So, and this is because this is a leadership session that I coined the title of this, well-being leadership in the age of AI. And because I will spend some time on the impact of AI and machine learning and data for making better world, better organization. And a lot of changes have been going on. And some of the origins is actually technology. But technology has the impact and potential to provide the remedy of these issues. And so I've been working on this issue. Can technology make you happy? And in fact, decades ago, I wrote a paper with top scientist Sonia Lyubomirsky on the largest academic society, IEEE. Can technology make you happy? And some award, and also the work I've been doing for this is used as an NBA case for the Harvard business case in worldwide. And anyway, the important thing is the situation is changing unpredictably. As Peter Drucker said. And how we recognize the meaning of the work is changing a lot. Conventionally, we think work is for making economic value. That creates well-being of the society. But economists find out that the causality of this right-hand side is quite weakened on developed countries. And another thinking, actually, this is also old, working allows us to have a position where we belong to and where we can work hard to make things better, and that makes us well-being. And that kind of crafting and challenging makes profits and next work and next society. So the two circulations are just tiny different, but the meaning is quite different. And 21st century, the lower part is becoming more important. But most people think happiness and well-being is a quite abstract, and it's very difficult to catch. But in the last 30 years, the scientific research based on data have advanced the understanding of the happiness and well-being. And fortunately, when I finished the semiconductor work, I happened to have connections and the top distinguished scientists like this. And the important thing of the happiness, you might think that happiness is diversified, and the figure and the shape of the happiness of all individuals is different. Yes, but the reactions created in your body based on your experience, such as blood vessel, blood pressure, hormone, immune system, enzyme, respiratory pattern, this is a quite universal reaction, just like any other reactions in your body. This is no matter which country you belong to, your culture, actually it is a quite universal reactions for survival for human being. No word is required to explain what is these four pictures. So this is we have in common. And this commonality of the happiness and well-being has very tremendous impact on our living, working, and some of the things you naively think is, as a matter of fact, is different from scientific discovery. Most people think if you be successful, you will be happy. If you are healthy and you will avoid illness, you will be happy. That's a kind of a perception. But actually, that causality is quite weak. And the opposite is much stronger. If you are happy, you will be more likely to be successful. If you are happy, you will not likely to get disease. The salespeople, when they are happy, they sell 30% better. Creativity and retention, profit per share of a company is quite different depending on the happiness. But most people think, the world happiness and well-being is quite distant from competition in business, situations. But you might think happiness is a kind of a relaxing and easy and relaxing state, just like, staying in Hawaii or something like that. Yeah, but staying in Hawaii is comfortable because you work hard and after that you go there. But if you're forced to stay there until the end of your life, you will get depressed. So happiness is the factor you have forward-looking and not backward-looking. And this is natural. If you're forward-looking and backward-looking, your sales performance or retention is different. But here, many people misunderstand that yes, forward-looking and backward-looking is a kind of a trait. No, it is a kind of a, anybody can learn riding bicycle, riding car by training. This, becoming positive and forward-looking, is a skill which can be trained. And the very, very essence of the well-being has been established, this pioneer, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. We've been working together and our paper and the very important discovery of Professor Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is not just a one-dimensional happiness, non-happiness dimension, that our experience can be well understood by two dimensions, whether your situation is challenging or you're utilizing your own abilities. The challenging, but not using your abilities, you have tension or anxiety. If you're utilizing your abilities, but less challenging, it's relaxation, but sometimes boring. And sometimes, of course, you need recharging. But this upper right, utilizing your ability and to reach out something beyond, makes you focused, enjoy, and grow, and that's called optimal experience. And although you are at comfort, it's predictable and controllable in your relaxation zone because it is less challenging and you have good ability. But if this is not well-being, if what happens if you stay in your comfort zone, what you can do will be reduced because the situation or the society is rapidly changing in ChatGPT world. So to enlarge the comfort zone, you need to go beyond. That's called challenge. And so in psychology, this is called to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Now, this is a very interesting expression, but this is the essence of the well-being. The important thing of this well-being, unlike the conventional notion of a conflict between employees and company, this interest is completely aligned because employees, utilizing their abilities and reaching out, stretching their challenge. And that's exactly the company wants. And but the comfort zone of each person cannot be visible. So we need to communicate each other. What is your comfort zone? What is his comfort zone? My comfort zone? That needs communications. And many academic research of the well-being shows the good relationship and good communication is the key for well-being. And actually, we have developed this kind of technology to visualize and to know more about precisely what is the very important factor that leads to well-being. And we have collected a lot of data, some whom you talk to somebody, and motion data of the body, and how many anxiety, happiness, loneliness, enjoyment in the last week, more than 10 million days of quite wide variety of work and organizations, and analyze for more than 10 years what is the factor that's distinguished between happy and productive organization and the others. And we have published some papers, and the last one was Nature's Scientific Report. And of course, to good relationship, we need communications. But the amount of communication of the number of links is not correlated with any well-being. But here, the structure of the communication is very important. For this person has two people whom you talk, open, but they don't talk each other. You have V-shaped structure. If they talk each other, it will be triangular relationship. And this tiny change, difference, completely different, whether you work happily or you are depressed or less productive. This V-shaped structure, for example, the one gets involved in a project. He needs to talk to a leader, but the person who evaluates the performance is different, and they don't talk to each other. That will make you a difficult situation. Another situation, I talk to my wife talk to my daughter, and daughter makes a lot of problems, but I don't directly talk to my daughter, and then my wife says, why don't you talk directly to your daughter? Because your daughter. And that kind of, V relationship is separated, is division, a kind of an instrumental relationship. So we need to be human, a community. The minimum community is called triangle. And so we need to treat people as a human. And this V is the essence of the loneliness, and triangle is the togetherness. And loneliness has very negative effect on productivity and health, lifespan, greater risk than obesity, alcohol, lack of exercise, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, dementia, depression, sleep quality, immune system, and also increases impulsive behavior and impairs judgment. So this is work. So you need to do some reporting, instruction requests, and so on. But even work, you need to have a good relationship. That's the answer. And but the organization chart, look at this. All are composed of V structure, not single triangle. So we need much other relationships. So the factor S is loneliness and comfort zone. We need to go beyond that a little bit. And we we have gained these kind of insight. And 5 years ago, I tried to alleviate these problems by using digital technology. And I walked around to meet people and would you give me 1 billion yen, enhance the happiness of the world? And actually 3 companies, said yes. And I started up this company, Happiness Planet. Not much time, but to alleviate loneliness, we have, so the challenge is how to create connections among people who have no obligations. Obligation communications are done by email and chat and many other, but you will have V-shaped structure. It is my job or someone else, the kind of energy is spent in your brain. To alleviate these kind of problems, V-shaped structure, many wise men and scholars have very said the same thing, dialogue in a circle. Especially conventionally, many cultures using this kind of a talking stick. The rule is only the person who have the talking stick can talk, and regardless of the hierarchy, every statement is listened, respected equally. And you speak, and then you hand this stick and other people who would like to talk, and you will have rich triangular structure here. But this world is quite busy and no time for this, but the digital technology will help you to have the similar structure even with this busy world. And actually the key is triggering. For example, if today were the last day on Earth, what would you want to eat from the system? And I want ramen. Finish the soup all the way to the end, though I usually avoid it because of the salt content. Those kind of things. So instrumental, communications and obligation communications will not disclose this kind of human nature or background. And the triggering, the subject suggestions is a very important triggering. And also that will inspire of the cheering. What in sports we do a lot, but not in business. And using this also AI to find out who will need triangle relationship among this village, and the AI will assign these triangular relationship every week. We will have rich triangular relationship among people in the organizations. Already 200 organizations are using to alleviate loneliness. And finally, very short, to alleviate comfort zone, it is also a very effective, and the digital technology is quite effective, especially Gen AI. For example, this salesperson is asked by the superior on the result or strategy to expand orders, and I'm anxious about that. And he needs to report to his supervisor. And if you talk to ChatGPT, we will show this kind of result, not incorrect, but a generic and uninspiring answer. We have developed well-being thinking based Gen AI, well-being bunshin, Japanese word for a kind of a avatar. And actually, this AI for well-being will answer the same question quite differently based on the well-being thinking I just introduced today. Can you listen to the music? So this is quite different from conventional, HL, digital technology, but much more human-related origin. And I firmly believe that our planet made happier by using data and science, and going beyond comfort zone and loneliness, and that will allow us to have good company and good service and good area. And we all know society organization made of people and human, and depending on their mind, everything is changed. And you can take the first step towards your own happiness. And I am quite my privilege if you have my talk have some triggering of your thought. And I believe technology make people happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kazuo. That was, I don't know quite how to follow that ending. It was so lovely. So yeah, nice little round of applause for Kazuo. That was really lovely. So we'll go into some questions now. Feel free to put your hand up, or we have a question already in the chat. So maybe we start off with that from Sidratul, who asked, with excessive use of technology, we don't engage in physical activity much. Also, the lack of face-to-face interactions can lead to isolation. Youths often compare themselves with others seeing their life in social media. How can we balance both our happiness and use of technology in this era? What do you think, Kazuo?
We need to recognize the good part and bad part, especially the SNS, social media, has a very detrimental effect on your mental well-being and physical well-being, especially because the structure is quite, they're not aligned with the well-being science. It is for advertisement, starting from PageRank. That's a very famous algorithm. Making more connections is rewarded as a kind of economic status. And that status is multi-orders of disparity, top level to a lower level. And also allows us to compare with others. And so social media has a very difficult problems on that. You need to be very careful. But many technology is good part and bad part. And anyway, everything has limitations. We need to recognize that's limitations. Like, for example, this Zoom. It is very convenient. I can talk to all over the world from Japan, my house. Very good. But the nonverbal cues are much narrower as we compare face-to-face in person and many others. So you need to recognize that kind of limitations. And depending on your situations.
Definitely. And it's why also we're very much looking forward to the in-person part of this training after this phase too. Thank you, Kazuo. Okay, next up we have Saravuth from Cambodia. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay, thank you very much, Kazuo, and also the committees for arranging this session. So I'm Saravuth from Cambodia. Currently, I'm working on a social media related, and it's focusing on the well-being and also online safety for the Cambodian people. Most of the time when I engage with young people nowadays, they say that they often compare their life to the people on social media, because most of the time we see that social media is full of inspiration, good things, and then they start comparing that their life is not as good as what is supposed to be, and they start giving definition of happiness following of what the celebrities or influencers are doing, and it really impacts their mental health. So I would ask the questions for some of your suggestion. Like if I'm to run a campaign to actually change all of those perception, what would be some of the key message that you think I should put there and to make it even more impactful for the young people? Thank you so much.
Yeah. I think just weeks ago, American something and actually a kind of a governor or something like some kind of position of a government position. Dr. Marcy announced that they need to, you know, put some of the statement just like tobacco, cigarette. This is harmful for your health. That is, you know, obligation of tobacco, and social media needs to show that kind of statement every time we use it, especially for young people. That's a very big impact. Many other possibilities, but we need to think about that. But of course, social media has a good thing. I learned many informations from all over the world by using social media, X, and so on. So bad aspect needs to be recognized by everybody is very important.
All right, thank you so much.
Thanks, Arvind. Okay, next up we have Eggy from Indonesia, and I do apologize if I pronounce people's names incorrectly. Over time, we will get them correct. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Iggy from Indonesia. I have a big passion for machine learning and psychology, of course. Thank you, Mr. Kazuo, for your perfect explanation of happiness. It reminds me to rethink what is the happiness. My question is, I believe that in a future where a technology is everywhere, yeah, we know it's society 5.0. If people only want to be comfortable and avoid challenge, I mean, on that time, where the AI and technology is everywhere, people will have a struggle, differ between their needs or to make everything in efficient way. So can we still have good leaders on that time? If everyone focus on feeling good, will our leaders be able to make the choice for the good for everyone? Can a society that values comfort above all else produce leaders who can guide us through a complex and uncertain futures? Thank you so much. That's my question.
My understanding is that yeah, my understanding is the situation is becoming more and more complex. Just like, you know, physics law says the entropy is always increased, that will complexity is increased, not, you know, reversed. It's just like, you know, the society's problem is more, you know, combined, and just Peter Drucker says the future is always unpredictable. So of course we can utilize what we already know and what we already have as a data and information, and that actually AI and machine learning will help us. But beyond that unpredictable future, we need to step beyond, and that is based on our hunch or our will and our belief, and that is accompanied by our responsibility. So if we don't take responsibility, the belief will decline. And so I believe we never reach such a wonderful, comfortable world. And also that's not happy for us because biologically we need challenge. We need challenge, and so we need something beyond our capability. And that's why we going beyond Africa, all over the world. So is that answering your question?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kazuo. I forgot about that that kind of responsibility we have. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Iggy. Okay, we'll take one more question. Quick question, quick answer from Tatia. I can ask you to, very briefly, and then a brief answer from Kazuo as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Kazuo, for such wonderful presentation. I just wonder, what do you think? How is changed perception of happiness and well-being after COVID pandemic? Just briefly, it's interesting from your point. Thank you.
That depends on the culture. But for example, in Japan, many of the social systems are quite rigid and stabilized before COVID. But because of the COVID, everything was fluid, changed. It is much easier to change. And so something, I believe most of the thing is getting better. For example, I can work from home right now. That's not what we saw before COVID. So, but maybe that might be related to some of the wars we see now, and we see both sides, and but this is not a prediction of the nature. This is creation by our will. So the future, we need to by utilizing this opportunity of the change after COVID. I would like to make the happier world. That's my thinking. Is that correct?
Thank you so much, Kazuo. Thank you, Tatia, for your question. Okay, we're going to wrap up this part of the session. Thank you so much, Dr. Kazuo, for your time, for your presentation, and for your answering of your questions as well. I'm sure if anyone has any other questions, you can put them in the chat, and we can ask Dr. Kazuo for a follow-up on email later as well. What we're going to do now, however, is have an exercise for all of you to chat a little bit more and get to know each other better. So we're going to go into breakout rooms. I know it says 15 minutes on the slides, but for the sake of the time, I'm going to cut it to 13 very specifically. But this is a chance for you to all get to know each other a little bit more, get to know a couple more of your peers. You're in groups of 3 or 2 just to have a quick chat with someone or a couple of people. So you can introduce yourselves. Who are you? Where do you come from? What's your background? And then how do you envision Society 5.0 in your context, your community, your local culture, etc. You can share your key takeaways. So take this opportunity to chat to different people and enjoy the 13 minutes you have to have a little bit more of an exchange with your peers. Okay, we'll see you back here in 13 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We let everyone quickly rejoin, and then we will wrap up the session. Okay, I think that's everyone. 7 people. Okay. Lovely. Then we are wrapping up with just a couple of next steps. I know we're almost at the, well, for us, 6 o'clock mark, so we'll try and be quick, but we appreciate your time also if we run over a little bit. So the first thing is to join the e-learning platform. So this is a platform that we will be sending out, and we'll be inviting you all to join tomorrow. And this is an opportunity. It's where all the recordings and all the PPTs from our sessions in the knowledge building phase will be stored, but also where the discussion forums for you to share your journaling key takeaways with also, so that you can have discussions amongst one another to have that little bit more engagement and reflect together collectively as a cohort also. So that e-learning platform access, you will get that tomorrow. If you haven't already, please join Slack. It was in our last email to you, but we'll send a reminder also. This is where you can have interactions with all of your peers directly, messages, you can share more about yourself. We'll also share like little announcements or small ones. We'll also use Slack a lot when we're on site in the different trainings, and there are different channels for the 2 in-person trainings, because while we have all 80 of you here today, 40 of you will be coming to Hungary and 40 of you will be coming to China. So keep that in mind also when you're communicating. Key takeaways, Slack. Okay, so yes, so all the journal reflections that you have and those 3 questions, we'll summarize them also again in our follow-up email tomorrow, and they're on the e-learning platform, so you can fill out the discussion forum with your reflections as well. Then travel arrangements. We know lots of you are eagerly awaiting emails from us, and we are so grateful for your patience in this. We have a lot of travel arrangements to be making, so we're trying to work through all of your emails as quickly as we can and get back to you, but yeah, please have patience. So a little logistical thing or admin related thing is that since there are 2 of us, we are taking semi-responsibility for the majority of the email communication with you all each. So I will be the primary liaison for everyone who's coming to China, and Linnea will be the primary liaison person for everyone coming to Hungary. Although your emails from us will likely still come from the ASEF Young Leaders Summit, the ASEF YLS email address, but just to bear this in mind, this is how we're balancing out a little bit so that none of your emails get missed at all. So we will get back to your travel arrangements as soon as we can. Another thing that will be coming out in the coming weeks is, well, very soon for China and then in a couple of months for Hungary, is a practical information booklet. This will be all the logistical arrangements and practical things like dress code, what things you might need to pack, what to bring with you, how you get for what the venues will be, and so on and so forth, as well as a detailed program we'll be sharing as well. But this practical information booklet, has all the self-explanatory practical matter related things, things like what the weather's going to be like in Beijing and Hangzhou and Budapest during the training. So keep an eye out for that. And we will also be sharing in the next couple of days the participant booklet. So this is where it has all of your bios, and so you can read more about your peers and your new friends. And this will also be shared publicly too. If you have any questions on any of these or any things you need to change, just send us an email at asefyls@asef.org. I think that's all of the announcements at this point we wanted to make. If you have any questions, we're happy to take a couple now, but if they're general questions, if they're questions that apply to everyone, if they're related to your very specific travel or visa arrangements, we'll follow up on this via email or follow up with us also. We prefer to handle all of the travel and visa related matters via email, not on Slack. This is so that we have documentation of all the conversations we've had with you. Okay, this is what I wanted to share. Do you have any questions at all, anyone? I'm happy to stay on a couple more minutes if you have any questions. I'm going to double check the chat also. Thank you for such lovely feedback. This session has gone very quickly. Also, we feel that too. We really appreciate all of your feedback. Karel, you have a question. Let me make it that I can see.
No, it was just something to reiterate on what it was written in email. So it's visa first and then travel, then going over the travel plan again, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So once you have your visa, we will ask you to reconfirm that the proposed itinerary that you uploaded in your registration form is the same as if it's the same that you want to go ahead with, or we will give you feedback on your proposed itinerary. And then we will have that conversation to determine if you can go ahead to get to that point of booking. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, let me just change my view so I can see who's putting their hands up more clearly. Okay, I think Tudor was next.
Yeah, so I wasn't going to ask this initially, but I see this might be relevant for several of us going to China. So I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but they asked me what is the flight number when I apply for the visa. So should I use the ones in the proposal or just not use anything? Also, they require us to give the accommodation in China, which maybe I've missed, or maybe I should wait for an update from you.
Yeah, wait for an update from us. I've noted your email, or I've noted the emails that we've received on this, and we will get back to you. We're reconfirming things internally with our partners also, and how best to proceed with the visas.
Great, I don't need to add any pressure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think Tatia was next.
Yeah, thank you. And I would like to ask this question about Slack, because I have joined the channel #1 announcements and updates, but I still got invited by email. So do we have more channels, or is this the one? Thank you.
There are more channels. You should be able to add channels yourself. There's a button somewhere. I mean, I can visualize where it is on my screen.
It's under the,
I think it's under the channel. There's a way for you to add the existing ones, but periodically we're also adding everyone to the available channels. But just as people are joining, we can't do it automatically.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You can ask to join it or to add it to your list, basically.
Yeah. Okay, good question. Next, I see Aliaska.
Yeah, I had 2 questions, if that's okay. The first one is about the third phase, which I believe is the practical part where we share our knowledge in our communities. But unfortunately, I'm going to be leaving my country right after my trip to China, to UK. So I wanted to ask if that's okay, if I do the same things in the UK and my university, which I'm going to be, where I'm going to be doing my master's.
Good question. Yeah. So after during, at the end, and of the in-person trainings, and afterwards also in the check-in sessions, we will go through more in depth about what the action phase looks like, what the multiplier events look like, and the process for this. What we will say is that it's not a problem if you're not going to be in your home country. Lots of participants here are not in their home countries. They're living in different ASEF countries or other countries. Obviously, there's different options for what the multiplier events look like, or multiplier activities. It can be in person in the country that you're residing in. It can also be online with your community at home, with your youth organization. It really depends, and there's a lot of options. It's very flexible, is what I'm trying to say. So not a problem that you will be in a different country at that stage.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I also wanted to just let you know that I bought my tickets, travel tickets, because I don't need a visa to visit China. So thank you very much for your email.
Thanks for the confirmation, Ayaska. Good. Yeah, we're making progress in how many people have their tickets to China, which is reassuring for us also. Okay, any other questions? I know we're a little bit over time, so I don't want to take up much more time. Otherwise, if you have any questions, email us, asefyls@asef.org. You will already have received many emails from us already, so you should know the email by heart very soon. Otherwise, we will see you next Tuesday for our next knowledge building phase session. We hope you all have a good rest of your day and week ahead, and we will see you next week. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.